but I really only have one gift. People ask me all the time, how have you built a church on the south side of Chicago? I pastor the largest multicultural church in Chicago. 67 nations meet together. I preach 4 times. 4,000 members. I started with 16 people in a storefront. I have no skills to speak of. I studied medicine for 8 years. I wanted to be a brain surgeon. And I left that. I'm still a surgeon, just of the hearts, not of the heads. And people ask, how did you do it? I don't have all the skills that all of you illustrious people have today. But in the #1 city in America for racial homicide, where we kill more people that are a different shade than we are, I had to learn on the streets of Chicago there was really only one thing that would change Chicago for Jesus. And that was to develop the one skill that I had, and that was to love people. So the first one that put me through my challenge was, I think I just have one screen. I'd like you to put up, it is there. The first thing that put me through my turns to hone my one gift that I had was this lady behind me is my mother. So when I was 16 years old, and we were in a storefront group of people, and they said, we need somebody to hold this fledgling group of people together. And I was leaving for medical school. I had graduated from high school early, was leaving to go to medical school. And I said, I'll stay behind and speak for a few weeks till we can get a real pastor. And one lady said, that's good because you have the gift of speak. She didn't even say the gift of preaching or anything else. She said the gift of speak. And so 35 years later, I always tell people we're still looking for a real pastor. But my greatest iron sharpening iron was my mother, who was right behind me. Multi-generational. I never looked at bridging the gap multiculturally as being my biggest challenge. I looked at multi-generational ministry as being my largest challenge. Prayer was the heating pad that caused it to grow. In a city so racially diverse and killing each other, killing children, we last year had 50-some kids killed in our street, Chicago public school children, killed in our streets, shot down in cold blood. This past weekend, 7 children shot in the streets of Chicago. I knew that there had to be something, and that if there was an answer, it had to come through we, the people of God. So we began to pray, and we made prayer the heating pad for love to grow. I call it that way because it was passionate prayer. And I tell people when it comes to prayer all the time, I don't pray like you, and you don't have to pray like me, but you do have to pray if you want to turn a church around. And so people never come to Lighthouse Church and they say, I go to Lighthouse Church because it's multi-ethnic. They never come to Lighthouse and say they come to Lighthouse because Pastor Dan's preaching. They come to Lighthouse because of love. That's the reason they come and stay. I can hardly believe it when people stand in line to get in church for 4 different services. And I realize that it's not because of the articulation of my thought and speech. It's not because of such great programs. Our carpet has holes in it. We have beams all through this warehouse building that we're in, low ceilings, much lower than this, and you can't even move inside that building. But if you start a fire, people will come to check it out and to see it. And so we honed in on this fact of people come not because of great anything. They come because in a city that is in trouble, they need to be loved. So we made the abnormal in our city the normal in our congregation. I'll say that one more time. We made the abnormal in our city the normal in our congregation. That if people could not find acceptance anywhere else, if they could not find love anywhere else, they could walk into the doors of Lighthouse Church and they could experience that.